opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ. Tongue twister today, huh?
Yeah, well, it's been a long day already.
Yeah, well, I understand you were having some difficulty yesterday retrieving your property.
It's and then when, of course, the government screwed up again.
Of course, God forbid.
When I switched the phone, I had that problem with them deleting a lot of my information. Yep. The information was on my phone. I didn't have it with me. I accessed my phone. It wasn't there. They said, oh, don't worry. You can call Boston. They'll give you the number. I called Boston. The guy gives me and I got a good head for numbers.
Yep.
But I don't remember it exactly.
Right.
But I knew, because sometimes I'm dyslexic and I flip numbers, And I looked at the number that he gave me. I said, that's not the number. And they went, oh, yeah, he just gave it to you. I said, I'm telling you, it's not the number. They ran it. They rejected it. He said, you're right, it's not the number. I had to drive all the way home, get it, go in and get the number, then go back so we could get the pay. But then again, look, that's government. But before we get into government, which is always an irritant, I think we have to take a moment to reflect on what happened in Uvalde, Texas. And
I was going to talk about that.
That is an absolute,
We're up to 19 children dead now.
Yeah, 19 and two adults, two teachers.
3 adults.
Well, it just said 2 on my phone. They were still saying 2 when I left the house.
Okay, all right.
But they were still, maybe it's 3, but there were other people that were, and the grandmother, I guess, that he shot is in critical condition. But,
I think that's where the 3rd came in. Was the
it really disturbs. It really disturbs me, because obviously there's nothing worse than losing children, and this is horrific, and that's what we should be concentrating on. And within seconds they politicized it again.
Yep.
Here we go again with the guns. It's the guns, not the criminals, not the nuts. Nobody's talking about the fact, how did he manage to, in 18, you can get a long rifle at 18. And how did he get it? Red flags? No red flags? They still haven't figured out. And, the irony is that now I saw a bunch of experts going on TV, and we actually brought it out at when we were talking about the Durfee over, about having a single entrance.
Right.
And having security, have a police officer at the entrance. They talked about that and the things you can do. But the reality is, these, and it really aggravates me, because, it's an insult to the memory of these children and these people who died. They turn this into a political football, and it's like, listen, you morons. If gun laws cured gun problems, New York, where we had a massacre, we had a subway shooting, we've had all kinds of murders, has some of the toughest gun laws in the United States, if not the toughest. And they had one in California, which has absolutely, even worse than Massachusetts and New York. They have absolutely the most stringent gun laws. But again, here's the politicians. They make these gestures, and they rail against this thing, and they use it for a political platform, and then they never enforce the gun laws that are in existence. And they still haven't figured out that laws. Look, the only thing that's going to create is a black market for guns.
Right.
Because if people want guns, they'll get guns.
That's why there are gun dealers, illegal gun dealers all over the world.
That's right. People make billions of dollars selling illegal guns, and these morons, they just make it. And the people who swallow this pablum and believe it, you can't legislate violence away. There are evil people in the world. There are people, I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say it, because it's the truth. Some people just need killing. I'm sorry, that's a fact. And actually, in a book called The Japanese Book of the Sword, because the Japanese have a different culture than we do, obviously. But they say right in the Book of the Sword, it is just to kill an evil person, because by doing that, you prevent him from perpetrating his evil on society. And they understand that concept. And these are the same people that let murderers out with no bail. They're the people who encourage this. What is emboldening these people? What is making these people think that they can just do stuff like this? It's because, what do? Lori Lightfoot was on complaining about guns again. Chicago's a war zone.
I was going to say.
I mean, they got gun laws up the kazoo.
Right.
And there's 200 shootings every weekend in Chicago. There's all kinds of murders. And that's what really upsets me, because, you know, I saw the pictures of a few of those children this morning. It's devastating to see this. And when these political hacks get up there and start saying, I got the answer. Well, you get the answer, urban renewal is the answer. That didn't work. We got all the answers. Declare everybody a gateway city. These clowns never fix anything. All you got to do is look at Detroit, Baltimore. Remember, the same party's been in charge of Baltimore for 50 years.
Right.
Baltimore has gotten progressively worse. It's one of the biggest crap holes in the United States. And it was a beautiful city. The Inner Harbor in Baltimore is beautiful. They don't fix anything, these politicians. All they do is yammer about stuff and do nothing about it. But this is a tragedy that the entire country should be looking at, not only how we fix this, but focusing on the children and the families of those children. And not only that, the law enforcement officers who ran into that building. The Border Patrol, one Border Patrol, a special team went in, and he stood between the gunman and the class. And he's the one who took down the gunman. So all you defund the police idiots, chew on this one for a while.
You know, I don't know if you saw the president last night.
Oh, God, don't even, that thing.
That was a combination of emotion and politicizing.
Yeah.
And it was, what do we need to do to stop this carnage? And, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. And,
yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a sad situation, and it is enough to bring up some emotion for a lot of people.
Yeah, and he lost two children. So.
And
a child and his wife.
Right. So he understands what it's like to lose a child. He understands what it's like to lose, a wife. So for him, it probably brought back a lot of that grief and loss that he felt before. But again, to politicize it the way he did, I think was unacceptable. And then to just walk away without saying anything was a very strong statement to the press and to the public. I don't think it was a bad thing. I think that it was a very strong statement to the press and the public, because he was emotionally moved. He really was, and you could see
I'm sure he was moved, but he's also cognitively challenged. Apparently, he forgot that he was in Congress for 40 years. He was the vice president for 8 years, and they did absolutely nothing. The Obama administration did absolutely nothing except talk.
Well, what was interesting?
So look, he's had 50 years to do something about it. That is the classic case of the pot calling the kettle black. Mm-hmm. He's not some guy that just stepped into office and said, I'm gonna fix this. The people before me didn't fix this. Well, the only person before him that's in the Washington swamp is a dinosaur, because he's been here for 50 years.
Right.
So I don't want to hear that from him.
Right. Well, and the thing is that, you would have thought he would have learned something, because he said it himself. He had to go to Sandy Hook when that happened. And now a second time in his life. I mean, that's almost unheard of.
Yeah.
For any politician. But the second time in your life, you oversee a mass murder of children. Yeah. That's a big situation to have to handle, and I think it's unacceptable. I think
Well,
it's unacceptable.
well, obviously, I have tremendous animus for this individual and his ineffective. He has been a political hack, a useless tick, his entire political life. Cheated his way through law school. Has been nothing but a hack in Congress. Was a hack as a vice president, and now has destroyed this nation. And you know something? He had to go to Sandy Hook, and that'll move anybody with children. Now he had to go to this. But he didn't go up to Wisconsin to the families who got mowed down during a parade. Instead, he got political mileage by talking about white supremacists. He didn't talk about the black supremacist in New York who shot people and had a manifesto of hating everybody, not only whites, but browns and yellows and anybody else. He didn't talk about the criminal who had a record 9 miles long, who drove an SUV and killed people of all ages, old people, young people. He just mowed them down with his SUV. But did he take time from his busy schedule to visit those families? This guy does everything for politics.
Of course.
And nobody is going to convince me otherwise, because his record speaks for itself. And remember, his best friend was one of the grand wizards of the Ku Klux Klan. This guy's like a chameleon. Whatever's politically convenient. Now he's a progressive. He's a Green New Deal guy. And before, he was running around with KKK people in Congress. So, listen, you're not going to convince me this guy has 1 ounce of credibility. I'm sorry. Because I've watched this guy in action almost since he got into Congress.
I never said anything about credibility.
He's been an absolute political hack, and he's a political hack now.
I never said anything about credibility, though. Never said anything about that.
And if the DOJ's looking for me, you know where I am every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Secret Service is at the front door.
Because I don't care.
Last night was a city council meeting, and
Yes.
nothing major happened. It was a very quiet another very quiet meeting.
Yes.
The one thing that did happen was it is now official. It's Police Chief Garvin. I like the way he is. He doesn't walk around like other chiefs have done with all the regalia and the police chief. He walks around in a 3-piece suit. You know, he walks around in a suit. I like that. It makes him approachable. And of course, which I spoke against, Ryan Lyons was appointed the elections chair. I'm not particularly fond of that. I think that he's going to have problems, especially if he doesn't recuse himself from various elections and election processes, because he has worked for Linda Pereira, he's worked for Leo Pelletier, he's worked for Alan Sylvia, he's worked for numerous political candidates. And that calls into question the validity of any election if he doesn't recuse himself from it.
Yes, you're right.
And last night, I was surprised that Leo actually voted on it, because I gave them a warning. I said, city councilors need to recuse themselves before taking a vote on this matter. Linda wasn't there, so Linda didn't have to take a recusal because she wasn't there again. Her and her daughter, I don't know if they're competing for who's going to miss the most meetings or what's going on. I know she was on vacation for a while, but again, you know when your city council meetings are. You ran for city council. The city council doesn't come with a period of vacation time, but Linda always makes sure she takes it.
And I think Andrew Raposo actually articulated that at one point.
Yes, I think
which was
I believe
pretty
so,
good
too.
for a first-term city councilor. He said, we know when the meetings are, you take the job. I mean, obviously, there are situations where you can't.
Right.
But, you know when the meetings are. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, specials, well, you plan a vacation, but, it's the same old, and that's the problem. As I said, with Ryan, there are going to be problems because he was a real political operative.
Yes, he was.
He's been deeply involved in many campaigns.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying that he would do it. We don't know what's inside.
Right.
But the perception of that is not acceptable in
Well,
that
as-
office. The perception of any kind of favoritism is, you should not be involved. You're right. He should recuse himself. But then again, he might have to recuse himself out of virtually every single election. So.
But then that was a bad choice for that position by the mayor.
You're right. That's why I said you were right.
And I firmly believe that was a bad choice by the mayor. But then again, the mayor's taking the lazy man's way out. He doesn't recruit anyone. Every position he's filled is somebody that's been in the position or somebody that's in the, coming up the line. It's all laziness.
Either that, or it's the other end of the spectrum, or it's a good choice because you got somebody who's maybe political.
Well, that's the problem.
And that's the problem, as you said. That we know those are political appointments, but the fact is, the reality is that well, to my knowledge, we never really had an issue where any of these people that were in that position prior, they set aside their political things. So most of the time, they were fair. And that's what you have to be.
Right.
And now he's going to have to, he's got something to prove. Look, he's got the job. We're going to have to see what happens.
Well,
maybe he'll surprise everybody and there won't be any problems.
Well, as I
and
said
we have
in
to,
my...
like I said, give him the opportunity to demonstrate whether he can actually do that job the way it was intended to be done.
As I said in my letter to the city council, I could have no faith in any election overseen by this gentleman at this point in time. I can have no faith because I had to seek out a legal opinion from the Secretary of State's Office, Division of Elections, on whether or not nomination papers were handled properly. A candidate running against one of his campaigns seemed to have been given a hard time to get on the ballot. And then once he was confirmed to be on the ballot, he did everything possible to make sure he was taken off the ballot, and he was taken off the ballot. So I have to look at this and say, was he acting within the scope of the law, or was this a batch job? Was this to, get the bag man out and make that happen? According to what I was told by the corporate counsel for the Secretary of State's office, Ryan, of course, said he did everything by the book. Everything by the law as set forth by the Commonwealth. It's real easy to lie. I'm not saying he lied, but it's real easy to lie. And I would have a great deal of difficulty in seeing any validity in any election overseen by this man if he doesn't recuse himself accordingly. And I mean, when you look at a city council race, he may have to recuse himself from certifying that election. He may have to, because he has too many connections.
Yeah, and I agree. And the key is he did everything within the law. The technicalities that he will look at, but then therein lies the rub, because we have to determine whether anybody's done this type of deep dive and diligence on any previous situation. Normally, it's their job. They certify the signatures.
And it's done.
Now, but as you said, he got the signatures. He attempted to not certify the signatures. He did certify enough. He tried to use, he tried to use something that wasn't applicable, and we know that because you're not on the census. And so he got that, but then he went digging for something else, as you said. Now, that's, to me, it's I've never seen that before.
I've never seen it happen
I've seen that with political campaigns where they dig for every bit of dirt or any kind of thing, technicality or violation of something. And that's where I think you have to question, is this the way he's going to run the office? If somebody that's running against a person who he has a political affiliation with, will he look for every single way to make it as difficult as possible for that individual to get on the ballot? And that's just wrong. I'm sorry. It's un-American. You know what my philosophy, and I know it's probably yours. I think anybody that can run for office should need one signature, their own.
That's it.
And you sign your papers, you say, I'll run, and go out and express your ideas to the public, and let the voters decide if they want you or not. If you're going to run with no money, I don't care. You want to declare, tell the people what you stand for, tell the people your ideas, and we may get a good idea from somebody that gets 12 votes. I mean, that doesn't, and that's the key. But that's my personal philosophy. I mean, I believe that this is supposed to be a free country. And everybody should get the vote. And that's why we oppose that charter increasing the number of votes and everything else so vehemently.
Right.
Because I think that's anti-American. To make it difficult for an American to run for public office is anti-American. I mean, why? If you want to try to throw your hat in a ring to be a representative of the people, shouldn't the people be able to decide if you get to be their representative? Why should politicians throw roadblocks in the road because they want to keep their offices?
That's true. And again, when Mike Mioza created this increase of signatures, 150 and 300, he said, well, if you want to run for mayor and you can't get 300 signatures, you don't deserve to be mayor. That was his attitude.
I know.
Okay?
We heard him say it.
That was his attitude. And guess what? That's not the proper attitude to have.
No.
Okay? And you, the voter, approved this piece of crap charter. And you still haven't learned. Do not listen to what a politician is telling you. It's all lies. Do not listen to it. Do your research. Check it out yourself. Then, if the politician was right, if the politician was truthful, then you know that. But you have to check it out. You have to. Because, again, how do you tell a politician's lying?
You don't deserve to be mayor. Who is he to make that?
Right.
Let the people say you don't deserve to be mayor by not voting for you.
Right.
But you could get someone who's a total unknown, may have difficulty getting 300. Maybe the poor guy works 2 jobs because the current mayor of the city that he's running against, whoever it is, I'm making a generalization here, so everybody will say you're picking on somebody.
Right.
But no matter who's in office, maybe he'll say, I'm sick and tired of it. I got so many taxes, so many fees. I want to change this city and make it lean and mean so I can live and everybody else can live. The guy doesn't know anybody. He's got to work 2 jobs. How's he going to get 300 signatures unless he works in a place with 300 people? And it's like, make it difficult. Make it as difficult as possible. No, you should make it as easy as possible. Because maybe if this guy got the 300 signatures and went out and told the people what he stood for, who knows? Who would have thunk it? How many people truly believe Jazel could beat Sam Sutter?
Right.
And the reality is, if he didn't have that $10 fee that he stuck in, he might not have beat him.
Right.
But the reality is, there were a lot of people that said, look at this young kid. You know, he didn't even actually get into the council. He got in because Kathy Ann moved out.
Right.
So, he's not going to have a chance against that machine. And Sutter had a pretty good machine.
Yes, he did.
Had a lot of support.
Right.
But, again, in that election, the people showed their ire with him.
Because of money.
Because of the money.
Right.
Which is maybe in a year in November, these people are going to see the ire of the people when they get their tax bills.
Exactly.
But to me, as you said, that piece of trash that they created, and some of the rationale they used for some of the stuff was just nuts. It was just nuts like that. You know, if you can't get 150, you don't deserve it. What do you mean you don't deserve it? It's like class warfare. It's like, well, you can't be the mayor unless your salary previous to being a mayor was over $120,000.
Right.
Right? So you don't deserve it. But that's not true. If you're a citizen and you want to run for office and you're eligible to run for office, you should be able to run for office because you're running to represent the people. And as I said before, we get back to the bottom line. You're running to represent the people, so let the people who you're going to represent make the decision, not some guy in an elections office, not some, board of political hacks. But that charter commission, except for Dan Robillard, was an unmitigated disaster, and we know it. They made no sense. They lied from the get-go like politicians always do. What did they say? We're going to tweak the charter. We're going to just tune it up, And the first action they took was to throw it in a trash can.
That's right.
And Dan Robillard opposed that from the day one, and he said that, and we said that, and he wrote a minority opinion, and we wrote an opinion for the ballot, but the people believed the cons. So maybe people are done stopping, listening to the cons, and hopefully people are going to come out. I know that Georgia had a tremendous turnout. I was looking at the election returns. They're coming out.
Right.
They're coming out.
Yes,
the
they are.
midterms are going to be and then 24 is going to be
It's going to be a bloodbath.
monster.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Election.
There's no question about it. And you know what's very interesting is that we see that the voters across the country are starting to change their focus. Their focus is no longer on the social programs. The focus is no longer on, what am I going to get? The focus is on how much money am I keeping in my pocket? How much is it costing me to live? How much is it costing me for gasoline? Do you know that they're predicting that gasoline will be $6.29 a gallon by August 1st?
Yeah.
$6.29 a gallon. We've never had $6 gasoline in Massachusetts. Never.
Yeah, you're
never.
right. But as you said, they're trying to shift, not to make it the absurdity of the excuses. It's Putin's war, it's the gas gouging. No, how about you shutting down the pipelines? How about the fact that we were producing enough oil to sell gas at $2.89 a gallon?
That's right.
At one time. And you shut it all down the first day in office. But it's not your fault, Joe. We know that. Everything's never your fault. You're like the little kid. It was Johnny's fault. Johnny stole the cookies.
Yep.
And if you do get caught, you say, well, they stole one too. This is baloney. You print money, you cause inflation. And anybody that says they're an economist and doesn't know that must have went to the same college as AOC and majored in economics. Because
Well, I'll tell you, another big problem we're going to have this summer is this is supposed, and it starts next week, people. Hurricane season starts next week.
Predicted a huge season.
They're predicting a huge season. And guess where that huge season is going to be? It's going to be in the Gulf.
Yep.
And where are all of our refineries?
Yep.
In the Gulf.
Yep.
So, again, you take one of those refineries offline, gas is going to go through the roof.
Yeah, and all the other problems, CD. I mean, you look at chicken went up 22%.
I know, unbelievable.
I was over in our class yesterday, looking. I looked at the porterhouse steaks, $15 a pound.
Yeah.
$15 a pound and I like porterhouse steak, porterhouse and filet. Or they had a nice big porterhouse. People can't afford it. They're spending $75, $100 to fill up their tanks. They got to go to work every day. They got and it's not 8.3%. When you look at individual stuff like chicken's up 22%. I had the stuff on my phone. I read it at one of the shows. They're all up double digits.
Yeah.
And people can't live. They're talking about food banks running out of food now and everything else. It's crazy. But
I picked up a loaf of bread last Saturday, $1.29. I went and picked up another loaf of bread on Monday, $1.59. Okay? I went by the store yesterday. I wasn't buying bread, but I looked at the price, $1.69. Okay? It keeps going up incrementally on a daily basis almost.
Yeah, right.
And this isn't our fault, okay? No. This is the politicians' fault.
That's right.
And they're making it worse and worse as every day goes by.
We'll let you sign off. And before, just as we sign off, I have to say one thing. Just keep the families and those children and those adults that were murdered in your mind.
Yeah, and don't forget them at all. I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Friday.